Salut, my dreamers, believers, and adventure seekers. I can't see a thing. It's fine. Not really, because my wig is probably going to rise and I'm not going to notice it and it's going to be very ugly, and for that I'm sorry. Today, I will be talking about Black Widow and how I felt about the movie. I know, listen, the movie came out like a month ago. For like the first week that the movie came out, that's all everyone would talk about. And now I barely hear a word of it. Which, like, I guess, okay, I get it. I get bored easily too. I don't know how this video is gonna do, like, algorithmically speaking, and frankly, I don't care. I just know that I've seen this movie now 3 times, and I feel like I need to get some kind of financial compensation for that. So, I'm going to be talking about the movie and my thoughts towards Black Widow in general, because fun fact, she's one of my favorite characters within the MCU and within Marvel in general, and that being said, ooh, first thing I want to point out, because a lot of people, for some reason, not a lot of people, but like some people, when they watch me screaming and like yelling and being upset about things, they get like disheartened, like, why is everything so bad? It's like, bro, just because I didn't like something doesn't mean you don't have to like it either. That being said, if you watch this movie or any other content in general that I personally did not like, but you like, that is great, that is phenomenal, that is fine. In fact, a lot of people seem to really like this movie. I, however, did not. When the movie came out finally, because they've been putting this thing on the back burner for like 3 years, which I know, Miss Rona, but like still, when this movie was finally coming out to theaters, I had noticed that my algorithm page or whatever was being shoved with ads for this movie saying, hey guys, Black Widow's coming, go see the movie, don't forget to see the movie, you know what's coming out? The Black Widow movie. And I got a little concerned because I'm just like, bestie, you're really pushing this on me. You're really shoving it into my face. Is it not good? That's the impression I got from that. So I went to see the movie. I saw it with Monique, and we're both like avid Black Widow fans, stans, whatever. We saw it, we did not enjoy it. I come on the internet the next day and I find everyone on my For You page on all my timelines loved the movie. They enjoyed it so much to the point where I'm overthinking, is it me? Am I the problem? Am I the drama? I don't think I'm the drama. Am I the villain? I don't think I'm the villain. Maybe I am. I probably am. So today, I'm just gonna talk about Black Widow and how I felt towards it. Like I said earlier, if you enjoyed the film, kudos, my guy. I am so glad. And I do want to point out that it's not a terrible movie. Like, you would not find this on Kenny JD's Bad Movies in a Beat playlist. Like, it's a pretty solid movie as movie standards go. It's just, for me, because I love and adore Black Widow's character and her backstory, just things I did not like. So, I am annoyed, highly caffeinated, and ready to cause havoc. So, let's get into it. First thing to keep in mind with this movie is that the script was written in 11 days. Yeah, I do have notes. They're kind of all over the place, so this video is gonna just be all over the place. It'll be an accurate representation of my mind. Let's just start off with the mid-opening credit scene follows right after young Natasha and young Yelena, after they've left America, show up in Cuba and get split up from their mom and dad, and then they get shoved in like these crates, which I believe was supposed to like depict human trafficking, which I'm not gonna really talk about that subject in this video because it's a very sensitive subject, but it was supposed to depict that. But it was really confusing because the way that it seemed, it was if like they had captured these girls and they were gonna pick and choose which ones to take into the Red Room, and the way that it had split up like showed Natasha and Yelena getting split up, it seemed as if Natasha was gonna go into the Red Room and then Yelena was gonna die. That's what I was getting like firsthand. But then like a couple minutes later we see Yelena, so it's like, well then why did you even put that? I don't freaking know. I thought it was weird. It honestly was just more of like an aesthetic montage of like what the Red Room is, which, you know, is like this secret base to train young girls to be manipulative spies and assassinate these whole. I don't know, I thought it was weird. For me, the whole family dynamic didn't make sense because the whole spiel that they're trying to like sell to you with this movie is Natasha's family before she became an Avenger. Well, she was still an Avenger at the time. Her like second family, her original family before she became an Avenger and had a family with the Avengers and all that. That's the point of this movie. It's supposed to tell her about this family that she had before. To me, I just didn't feel that connection because like the family within this movie is Natasha, Yelena, Melina, and Alexei, right? right? And their whole family dynamic, it only existed for about 3 years. And Natasha herself was like maybe, I don't know, 10, 11. She was like young. She was within the Red Room at this point. Yelena, I think I give a little bit more slack because she was like 6 years old. She was like a little baby, so like her I could fully believe, and she would be like, oh yeah, these are my parents, but it's like you don't remember your life beforehand, which like I get brainwashing might tell you otherwise. But throughout the entire movie, they had this whole thing where it's like, oh, we're family, we're back together again. It's like, y'all were together for 3 years, and then for the next 20, I don't get the impression that you had any contact with each other. Natasha says that she had no contact with Yelena throughout the entire time after they got split up, and Alexia was in prison the entire time. They all thought Melina was dead. So there's like 2 decades of time where they were not with each other, and I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I can't empathize with that, so because of that, because I can't connect to that dynamic, I can't feel for this whole family theme that they were trying to like say that like, yeah, this is Natasha's family. Also, I hated the young Nat flashback because, oh my gosh, it totally, it retcons, is that the right word? I think it is. It totally dismisses everything in Natasha's past, and it just rewrites all of her history, and it's so confusing because literally mate, oh my gosh. Okay, not to like kind of sidetrack, but still relevant. My favorite movie within the MCU, it's honestly one of the top tier, god tier, S tier movies within Marvel, is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. That movie is just amazing every single time. And Natasha in that movie, oh my gosh, phenomenal. Within that movie, there's a scene where Natasha and Steve are running away from S.H.I.E.L.D., which is Hydra, because Hydra infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., and like we all know that Hydra is bad, and they're trying to like get to the bottom of it. While they're in the car driving to New Jersey, Natasha makes a comment in which she says, when I turned in the KGB for S.H.I.E.L.D., I did not know I would be turning it in for Hydra. Now, I'm not a historian, but the KGB ended in 1991. In Natasha's like history, she worked for the KGB. She was a Soviet Union spy, right? If that's the case, if she worked for the KGB back in 1991, because Natasha's whole thing is that like she has enhanced abilities and properties. She's a lot like Steve and Bucky, but not to the point. Like she's not a super soldier, but she has a lot of their abilities where like she ages slow. Her like biological parameters are much more enhanced than the typical human. If she worked for the KGB, then how the hell is she 12 in 1990, whatever the heck, in Ohio? What? I don't understand. Also, this is just really petty, but like, after they leave Ohio and they go to Cuba and Natasha like freaks out and be like, don't touch my sister, you touch my, I'm kidding you, ah! That was a terrible Russian accent. They knock her out with some drugs, and then Dreykov is like, who is that? Who's that young girl? She's got fighter in her. Alexei is like, that's Natasha. I'm like, you're not even gonna, you're not gonna say her Russian name, Natalia Romanova? That's so much cooler than Natasha Romanoff. Like, whatever. Okay, so the Red Room. I told y'all this was all over the place. If I could be one of those commentary YouTubers who when they discuss a film, they go in chronological order and give their griefs, I wish I could, but I'm not, because I'm built different. Bro, I kid you not, when I saw the Red Room come into Scream, I lost it. I lost my mind. You're telling me the Red Room is a sky-high helicarrier with TikTok LED lights? What? So funny. It also doesn't make any sense, because the whole point within the movie is like, Natasha's like, what do you mean? The Red Room's not real. I got rid of it back when I killed Dreykov. But Elaine's like, no, you didn't. Did you confirm the body? No, you didn't. He's still alive and he runs the Red Room. So the whole point is to find Dreykov and stop the Red Room, because the Red Room has created more widows, which is not good. But what did not make sense to me is you're telling me no one knew? No one knew that the Red Room was up and running this entire time? Like, bro, and this is again with the retconning. I know that like the MCU is not within the canon Marvel universe that a lot of the comics are based off of, which is Earth 616. That's the typical canon Marvel verse that we usually see within the Marvel comics. Oh no, my clip fell out. That's a shame. So I understand that, but a big thing about the Red Room is that it is connected to Hydra, because the Winter Soldier trained Natasha. She sparred with the Winter Soldier back in her KGB Red Room days, okay? They had a connection. That's why within a lot of the comics, they have a relationship with each other, because they have that kind of history, they have that kind of past. So, because the Winter Soldier is a part of Hydra, right, that would imply that the Red Room is a part of Hydra, which it is. So you're telling me that when Natasha dumped the files on the internet of all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s intelligence, which was all of Hydra's intelligence, that no one knew that the Red Room wasn't around, wasn't here, wasn't there? You're telling me no one knew? No one knew. No one knew about this giant city in the sky? I find that hard to believe. So with that in mind, saying that no one knew about the Red Room implies that Hydra was never a part of it. With that in mind, I ask you the question in the words of Cody Ko, who's paying for this shit? You're telling me, oh yes, a selective group of councilmen and world leaders who are under my hand fund this. I find that hard to believe. List me the names, show me the faces, tell me, and then I'll believe it, but like, I don't. I really don't. Here's the thing, bestie. The Red Room itself is a very terrifying concept, right? Because it's a very interesting concept, cool concept, storytelling-wise, because it's like this place where they take orphan girls to be trained to be killer assassins. And the whole premise of it is because women are not seen, like off the bat, they're not seen as malicious, they're not seen as a danger, they're not really seen a lot of the times. More so even like back in ye olden days, they were never considered a threat, which makes the Black Widow program a threat because you have like these women who are parading as these dainty, gentle, fragile creatures, and yet they could kill you with their thighs. But the thing is, when like I saw the Red Room on screen, I just was not getting that threatening energy. I wasn't feeling it. Like, I don't know if you've seen Agent Carter. If you haven't, I really recommend it. It's really good. In the first season, we actually deal with the character who is from the Red Room. She is a Black Widow. And I don't know if it's because I haven't seen the show in a while, like it has been a hot second, but I remember watching it and I remember being viscerally like perturbed by the Red Room, like the way that they had showcased it. It was so just, oh my gosh, it was unsettling. Like there's so many elements within it that just makes it terrifying, and it makes the character who is a part of the Red Room, like I don't want to give you spoilers if you haven't seen the show, but like the character who is a part of the Red Room, she's so terrifying. I honestly felt like that was a better depiction of the Red Room within that show than in this movie. Like, yeah, I get that like it's more technologically advanced than it was back then, but like it should still have that threatening fear factor to it, you know? I don't know, I just was not... It just wasn't it for me. Speaking of the Red Room, Dreykov, okay, this movie, they handled their villains so, not like poorly, because they were just average villains. It's just like, it's like I said, this movie is fine. It's just very lackluster to me. Like, I feel like if you've been a fan of the Marvel movies since like phase 1, and if you are specifically a fan of Natasha and her history and her story and her as a character since the very beginning, since we've met her, then maybe you can understand where I'm coming from, and like this just feels like a lackluster movie for her, which I want to get in later. But like for newcomers who like are just, who have like binged the entire like franchise because everything's available now and we've gone through all the like moments within the MCU, like now we're just making out content because we can. And for like movie going standards, it's a fine, typical action movie. To me, it feels like there's no heart or there's no depth to the villains, and that is shown especially with Taskmaster, which I'll get into in a minute. I do want to talk about Dreykov for a second. With Dreykov's character, the only other time that he is mentioned in regards to Black Widow is back in Avengers when Natasha is interrogating Loki, and Loki's like, I know you're Dreykov's daughter, and all that, and like we get a reaction from that, but like that was part of her plan. But other than that, I just really didn't see him as a villain. He was just more like a bully. Like the only time that I was like viscerally, I know I'm using that word a lot, but like that's the only word that's coming to my vocabulary right now, was when Natasha went to go kill him, but she physically couldn't because his pheromones were like, you can't kill me, I'm a bad bitch. So she couldn't, and it was really terrifying, especially when he took the gun and shot it in the air like it works fine, and then when he's like, use your knife on me, and she like could not kill him. That was terrifying. It reminded me a lot of that one scene from Birds of Prey, which I think is a very great movie. It's a very fun movie too. I don't know why a lot of people don't like it. I mean, I think I know why a lot of people don't like it, but it's a pretty fun, really good, visually stunning movie. There's a scene within Birds of Prey where Black Mask, I cannot remember his name, my man is unstable, and there's a point, there's a table near him that's like laughing, and like there's one girl specifically who's laughing super loud, and he thinks that she's laughing at him and mocking him and his failures, but like she don't know what the frick's going on in his day life. She's just trying to mind her business, have a fun time with her friends. And he gets so upset with her that he forces her to get up on a table, dance, and take off her dress, but she doesn't want to, so like her friends take it. It's honestly a terrifying moment, and I hate watching that scene because like I know it's a good scene like storytelling wise, but like it's scary. It's very horrifying as a woman. The scene with Natasha and Dreykov where she couldn't kill him reminded me a lot of the feelings I had during that scene, which I thought, okay, I can appreciate the emotions I'm feeling right now. But like that's all that like I have as a positive remark towards Dreykov. Other than that, I just don't really like care.
Hi, so piggybacking off of that, I feel like it would have been a lot stronger if Dreykov actually had like a hand in her upbringing. And if he did, I wish they had shown that. And I'll get into a little bit more detail later how a big problem that I had with this movie is that they just did a bunch of telling. There's like no showing involved with anything. Dreykov makes a point to say when he's talking to Melina, who's actually Natasha, that Natasha betrayed her family. She betrayed the Red Room. And I feel like if we had gotten to see as the viewer Natasha's time spent in the Red Room, like maybe Dreykov really saw her, this prominent widow that was in training for them, like he already had acknowledged that like she had a fire in her. If he had then gone forward and invested his own personal time to raise her to be the best widow that they've had in a long time, I feel like it would have added more tension to her like attempting to kill him again and take down the Red Room, because then it would have been like, oh yeah, she actually is betraying her family. That's in air quotes. But because we don't ever get to see that like sort of connection between the two of them, I don't feel that whole like, it just feels like he's just another, you know, leader of a regime that she has to take down, which is fine. I'm all for like angst and tension, and I feel like some of the lines that he said don't really add up to the energy in the room, if that makes sense. I don't know. In my opinion, a lot more could have been done, and it wasn't. And that, my friends, is what we call in the business a bummer. So, there's that.
Taskmaster, right? I feel like y'all can agree, whether you like this movie or not, that reveal was the worst thing ever. I am not a Marvel aficionado. I don't know everything there is to know about Marvel, but I do know that Taskmaster as a character is so freaking cool. Like, I think I've only really interacted with him within a couple of like Spider-Man shows. I remember seeing something that involves Spider-Man and Taskmaster, and the whole thing with Taskmaster is that he's got his own personality. He's got his own like character to him. He is a very threatening villain to have because like he copies and mimics everything that you do and as you fight. So it's like you're fighting a mirror. So that makes it a lot harder for like the heroes to try to defeat him, because like he's just gonna do exactly what you do. And so the fact that he was employed by the Red Room is like, okay, cool. But then we find out that Taskmaster is just the daughter of Dreykov and is under mind control, and I've never really cared for like characters like being a different character within the same set. Like, you know, MJ within the MCU, it's not Mary Jane, it's Michelle Jones played by Zendaya. It's like that, where like they have a character that is different in this universe than it is in like the set 616 universe. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. I never really mind that. I really don't care. I just wish that they had done a better job at revealing Taskmaster and maybe giving a personality to him instead of making him this mindless drone. Because the whole thing with the Dreykov daughter reveal was that throughout the movie, when Natasha is retelling the whole thing to Yelena, how she killed Dreykov and took down the Red Room, she says the only way they could do that was through his daughter. Antoinette, I think is her name. They had to follow Antoinette, and in such, Antoinette got blown up. That was the big thing. Except she wasn't. She survived, horribly disfigured, and yet somehow Dreykov didn't. I don't. But apparently the only way to save her was putting a chip in the back of her head, and in doing so, they put her under the mind control, which, I don't know about you, but if I was at a young age, you know, just trying to live my life. If I was just trying to live my life and then I got blown up and I somehow survived, but I look so bad and I cannot move and it's a miracle I'm alive. And I found out that the person who did that is now seen as a hero throughout the entire world, I think I would be a little upset. I think I'd have a little bit of a vendetta against them, you know? I'm just saying, especially if my dad runs a super secret elite evil organization where they train young women to be assassins in the name of their law. I think maybe I would be on the bad guy side and try to get my own vengeance for that. What I'm trying to say is, you're really telling me they had to put her under mind control too? They couldn't be like, yeah, no, I agree with my dad because you tried to kill me and I hate you for that, so I'm gonna try to kill you. Like, I don't know. There's so much in this movie that does not add up to everything we've seen before, and it just, it's lazy writing in my opinion. Like, honestly, you could have a stellar cast, a phenomenal director, but the backbone of every movie, of every TV show, of any media you're making, content, anything that involves a story, it relies on the writing. The writing is the backbone of every foundation, and if it falls, everything else crumbles. Like, throughout this entire movie, they never let you or Natasha figure out anything. Like, everything's just told to her. Everyone has an answer for everything. Like, there's no deciphering, there's no figuring anything out. We just go from point A to point B to point C to point D. Like, it's like they knew along the lines where it just, I I like to think, I like to unravel the mystery of what's going on. Like, I kind of wish that when they had introduced everyone, it wasn't like yeah, they're still up and kicking, like, we know who these people are and they're just around. Like, I wish, because I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just so, It also was weird because, like, the Red Room was so big and that there was only like 20 girls training. It's like, what are you doing with all this space then? This movie does a lot of telling without showing, and that's probably the biggest letdown for me, at least, because like I said, if you've been watching these movies since phase 1 or phase 2, I got into the MCU back when Age of Ultron came out, so yeah. But I had watched the movies and I loved Black Widow, and a big thing within the first Avengers movie where, like, we actually see Black Widow more in action is this scene when the Chitauri are taking over New York. New York is in shambles, y'all. And Natasha is shooting people and Clint is doing his bow and arrow thing. And she's like, this is a lot like Budapest. And he's just like, you and I remember Budapest a lot differently. And that scene, I swear, had a chokehold on the Avengers Tumblr fandom. the amount of fan art and fan fiction and theories that came from that, like the amount of edits I'd seen of like a Budapest themed movie of Black Widow and Hawkeye, I literally, honestly, that scene particularly always had everyone like, what happened in Budapest? Like, oh my gosh. And now this movie is supposed to tell us what happened in Budapest. And yeah, they tell us what happened. Apparently they had to blow up a building which took out like 8 blocks of people, and then the Hungarian army came in, and Clint and Natasha, it took them 10 days to get out of the city. Are we ever shown that? No. A lot of this is just speaking and not showing. Even more so with them telling how the freaking mind control WandaVision freaking space dust works. Also, that didn't make sense to me because, first of all, how on earth did this stuff get out of their hands? You're telling me that the Red Room developed a way to control people's free will, which, low-key, that's terrifying. You're telling me they developed a way to control their widows. However, they also created about 15 tubes of antidote dust. If you found a way to control people, why would you create an undo button? Like, I feel like as a villain, I would not want anyone to be able to undo something that I did if it benefits me. You know what I mean? With that being said, if you do have this antidote, you don't want to get that out of your hands. You don't want that to go around town, and yet somehow it did. We don't know how it got out. We don't know where it came from. Heck, it even seems like Dreykov didn't even know that they had this. And it's like, where did this even come from? And then when they asked Melina, yo, what's going on? The Red Room is still alive and kicking. Can you take us to it? Melina explains how the brainwashing works, explains their time back in Ohio. But again, I just wasn't really paying attention because I have no connection to the characters, first of all. And also, I wish they had shown it instead of just told me. I'm just so confused because, like, where did it come from? How is it here? Why is it here? How did y'all let this out of your facility? Because if your whole shtick is that no one knows that the Red Room is still up and about, and yet all this thing that's related to the Red Room is around the world lost. I feel like it kind of would have been better if maybe Melina was the one to leak it. Like, maybe at some point she realized, or she broke out of her brainwashing and realized that the Red Room is bad and they need to get out of it, but she didn't know how to because she was so deep into it. So, like, she created the antidote, because it sounds like she's the one who created the brainwashing, because apparently she's Dreykov's architect. She's the scientist behind it. I feel like if she's the one who created this, then she would be the one to have the antidote, and she would have made it to bring back the family. I don't know. I feel like that might have been a little bit better, and maybe I would have been like, oh, okay, I see you. Speaking of Melina, the relationship between her and Alexei, I'm so confused. Apparently, Alexei was thrown in jail for a big portion of his life, but when he gets out, he knows exactly where Melina's at, and they have a little weird flirtation. Like, yeah, Melina drags him, which was kind of funny. The relationship between Melina and Alexei, it kind of implies that they have an established relationship because they were always flirtatious with each other, which, okay, sure, but I don't know that. I'm not being told anything. Like, I don't know if they exchanged letters while he was in prison, if they actually were dating, or if they were married in IRL, real life, but I don't know that. All I know is that they were 2 agents put together on a group project, and that was it. Like, they knew each other in the business, and that was it. I don't know anything otherwise, and yet they kind of act as if they are together, or that they were together at some point and still have feelings for each other, but I don't know. There's so much that is just, everything was just expository, which to me just felt lazy and cheap, because it's like, you could have done more. You have the budget for it. It's just the whole thing, and a lot of people have said this in regards to the movie, is that this movie isn't Natasha's movie. This movie is honestly to show us Yelena, because from now on, we're gonna see more of Yelena's character, and I'm not gonna lie, I love Yelena. She was the best part of this movie. I love her as a character, and I'm really excited to see where she's gonna go from here on out. Like, the bonus scene at the end of the movie when she's at Natasha's grave. Honestly, first of all, her fit, stunning. Yelena's visiting her sister's grave, she's taking care of it, and then Valentina's there, and it seems like Yelena works for her, probably as like an agent or whatever, and now her next target is gonna be Hawkeye, which is gonna lead into the Hawkeye series, which I think is supposed to come at the end of this year. I'm not entirely sure. And I kid you not, bro, when they showed Hawkeye, I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine if she kills him. Like, I don't care for his character. Like, the MCU has done nothing with Hawkeye. They did that whole thing with him in Endgame where like, oh, I lost my family, so I'm gonna go on a hunting spree, and it's gonna be justified fight Natasha for the Soul Stone. It's like, I'm gonna do it, but now she's like, no, you have a family. It's like, girl, you do too! What? Heck, even Jeremy Renner wanted his character to get killed off because they were not doing anything with him. This movie, to me, it just felt lazy, and I think mainly because this movie is supposed to be like this send-off to Black Widow, because she's dead now, like in the MCU. She's no longer with us within the MCU up at this point. This movie is supposed to be like her last thing, like a goodbye to Black Widow. And I feel like because this is what this movie is, it's kind of rude because this movie, like I said, isn't even Black Widow's movie. It's Yelena's movie, because this movie does more to catapult Yelena and for us to enjoy her, because we're gonna get more of her in the future, which I love her. But it's like, if this is supposed to be a send-off to Black Widow, it should be a proper send-off to her. If this movie had came out after Civil War, I feel like I would not have as much of a disdain for it. Like, I would be very annoyed with, like I said, the history, the writing. I would be still annoyed with that, but I would give it a little bit more grace. However, since we know what happens to Black Widow, I'm like, really, dude? I might as well just talk about my feelings towards how Marvel has handled Black Widow as a character, because once a month, I always get into a rage about how they did my girl dirty. So I might as well just get those feelings out here now. The tragedy of Black Widow is kind of overdramatic, but then again, so am I. Personally, I feel like the downward spiral that brought us to this point with Black Widow's character all points to Age of Ultron. Like I said before, Captain America Winter Soldier, superior movie. I feel like Natasha's character in that movie is portrayed wonderfully. Like, we get to see her being a badass, we get to see her being a boss, but we also get to see her vulnerable. We get to see Natasha for who she is. A spy, an agent, and an Avenger, okay? However, the next movie that we see Black Widow in is Age of Ultron. And I don't know about you, after I saw Black Widow, I had to go through and I had to rewatch every movie that she was in. I didn't watch Iron Man 2 because like that was just her intro and I feel like that was like whatever. But mainly I watched Avengers, Captain America Winter Soldier, and then I watched Age of Ultron. Now, to me, there's a lot of growth from Avengers and how they treat Natasha in Winter Soldier. However, it's like they regress in Age of Ultron because she has the same hairstyle that she had back in Avengers, even though she grew it out in frickin' Winter Soldier, and then in like frickin' Civil War, she's got her new hair, new looks, and like it's so weird, and it's annoying. A big thing that Scarlett Johansson kind of touched upon this, and it kind of doesn't make sense, but like a big thing within Natasha's character is she's a femme fatale, and oftentimes femme fatales are sexualized, and that's never fun. As a woman, it's never fun to just be overly sexualized for the heck of it. The thing is, in particular with Black Widow, is that that's kind of the point. Black Widow's aware that that's kind of the point. Like, her whole training is to utilize her feminine appearance, her abilities, her sexuality to manipulate men into getting information that she needs. Like in Avengers, when we first meet her, she's like strapped to a chair and she's like being interrogated, but then she gets a call from Phil Coulson and Phil's just like, we gotta come in. And she's like, I'm working right now. This guy's giving me everything I need. And the guy's just like, no, we're not. And she's like, really? And then she like kicks their butt and then goes to freaking work with S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's just like, yeah, that's Natasha. True, there's a lot more of shots within Natasha's character where clearly they're just focusing on her exterior and she has a lot more makeup and she's very more prettified? That's not a real word. In Avengers. But then in Winter Soldier, we see moments where she's not so glammed up, where she's disheveled and dirty. And I like that. Like, it shows that like you can see the growth from the two movies, and yet when we get to Age of Ultron, it's like we're back in Avengers. I hate Age of Ultron for one big particular reason, and it's a reason that I think carried through the rest of the series with her, and there was the whole freaking Bruce and Nat thing. What the hell was that? Nobody asked for that. No one needed that. What? Huh? Literally, May, in freaking Avengers, she literally tells them love is for children, and then she goes and has a freaking romance plot with Bruce. Like, what the? Also, Bruce is annoying. Like, honestly, if they're not one of the major big characters in the movie, like Thor or Steve or Tony, then like they don't really get a lot of character growth, like Hawkeye and Black Widow and Bruce Banner. But like, even in Avengers, Bruce was so irritating to me. Literally, this man, anytime you bring him into a room and you talk to him, he's all like, are you sure? Are you sure it's smart of you to put me in this space? Smart to put me in this cage? Are you sure it's a good idea to have me here? I could go crazy. Like, bro, I get it. You have some unresolved issues with the green man inside of you. I understand that. But for the most part, everyone here has been nice to you. Everyone here has been understanding of your predicament, and you're acting as if they all hate you. Like, huh? The entire time. It felt like more Natasha was like on a mission to like gain his trust. Like, I know back in like the Avengers movie, she goes to gain his trust so like he can come join the Avengers Initiative, because that's what Fury told her to do. That was her mission. And that's what kind of it felt like in Age of Ultron, to me at least, because it just, their whole like, it just, they had no chemistry. Honestly, Tony and Bruce have more chemistry, bro. Tony, who is like the most blunt, in your face, will be honest to a point, it's just like, yeah, you got a freaking green guy inside of you? All right, sick. But like, honestly, you're like a really intelligent dude, and I think that's pretty rad. Let's go talk about over there in this thing. Like, Tony doesn't care that Bruce is the Hulk, and like, that's whole Bruce's insecurity, that he is the Hulk. I hated this. I hated their love thing. It doesn't make any sense to me, because everyone's just like, oh yeah, when Natasha's with you, Bruce, she's gentler, she's nicer, she's like, da-da-da. It's like, how? She's, what? It's so annoying, because that scene in the barn, first of all, when they're at Clint's farm, right, there's a whole moment where Natasha's like flirting with him, like, oh, you took a shower without me, which is like, girl, you guys almost died. Shut up. It's weird. And then, oh my gosh, there's two things that she says in this scene that like bother me. First of all, she asks him like, let's run away together. Let's leave. Let's start a new life. It's like, girl, isn't your whole point of being an Avenger that you want to get the red out of your ledger? You want to atone for all the bad things you've done and be a better human? And yet here you are saying that you want to run away with this guy. You want to run away. Huh? Natasha has always been depicted as a professional person. The job comes first. She doesn't focus on that other stuff. I just feel like, I'm not saying she can't have a love life. I'm not saying she can't find romance. Like, I'm not saying she wouldn't want those things out of her life. I just feel like she would be the type of person who would understand what matters most and prioritize over her own needs, because like her whole spiel, her whole thing is getting the red out of her ledger, and now she's like, I'm in love. But the thing that bothers me the most, one of the reasons why she's able to relate to him, Bruce, with the whole monster inside of him, is like, he's like, oh, you want to have a family with me? I can't have kids, Natasha. It would never work. And she's like, neither can I. And then she goes on to explain the graduation ceremony at the Red Room, where they gave her involuntary hysterectomy, and so she couldn't have kids. And she says literally that she views herself as a monster for that, which is like, what? Are you telling me that she thinks that because she can't have kids, she's a monster? Not the fact that she's killed a lot of people and she didn't feel bad? Huh? What's the kicker though? Because she outright says she can't have kids, which means she can't have a family, which means that like she's a less of a loss to have, I guess, if she dies, which is why the whole thing at Endgame is like, oh, Natasha doesn't have a family, but Clint does, so if she dies, it's like, oh, it's not like people will lose their mind. It's like, I lost my mom, I lost Natasha. Also, Age of Ultron is so freaking weird, because they bring out this whole thing with Bruce, when he's the Hulk, that there's a lullaby that like will call him down, but only Natasha knows it. I don't know about you, but that does not seem practical. And we see that it's not practical because at one point, when Wanda does her wibbly wobbly woo on Hulk and he goes crazy and starts demolishing a city, Natasha's not there to do a lullaby. And Tony freaking says that. Tony's just like, Romanoff, we need a lullaby right about now, but like she's incapacitated at the moment. It's like, Tony, if you knew the lullaby, you could do it and you could calm Hulk down. but you don't. I feel like it would have been smart if everyone knew the procedure how to deal with a Psycho Hulk. But no, Natasha's the only one. And then also, the only way for them to find where Ultron is because Natasha gets captured but not killed. Like, I feel like she would have been able to break out. Or even then, it doesn't make sense why Ultron kept her. Why that movie put Natasha in such this damsel in distress thing, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Hello again. Just to reiterate my point, because if you've noticed, I have a tendency to say things that don't entirely make sense. And while I do apologize for that, I can unfortunately say that we do not ever see a change in that in the near future. So, like I stated earlier, that is what we in the business call a bummer. I guess one of the real reasons why the whole love thing with Nat and Bruce just is icky to me, because of all those things I said, first of all, but also to the fact that it's just kind of rude. Because here's the thing, folks, a lot of the times whenever we have movies like this that are made up of a more predominant male cast, like a majority of the characters are guys, and there's like, say, one female character, typically what happens is that that female character becomes a love interest for one of the guys in the group casting. That's usually how it goes down. I'm just saying, generally like 60, 70, I can't do math, percent of the time, that's how it happens. So when Avengers came out, mind you, back in 2012, and we were showcased a female character that had no interest in romancing any of her comadres, her pals, her buddy dudes. In fact, she saw them in like a playful, friendly, like family, brotherly manner. That, like, to me, I loved that, because it wasn't just, she wasn't like a love interest. She was her own character. She was her own self. It was great. And then when you have this thing in Age of Ultron that it literally looks like it's coming out of nowhere, it's like, what? Why do we have, I don't want this. Can I return this to sender, please? I can't remember what else I wanted to say, but I realized that while editing this that, like, I probably come off across as very childish and very just annoying, which that's valid. I'll say that much. I don't know, dude. I've always just had very high remarks for Natasha, and I'm just really bummed that, like, there's so much within her character that is so freaking cool. That's just, Marvel, why? I think, and this is kind of going off on a tangent, but it's still relevant, I think a big problem that Marvel has with their movies and crossovers and now their shows is that the writing with their characters is not consistent. We've seen that, I think, particularly with Steve and his character development. I think we've seen that with every movie that he's in up to Endgame, and how his choices made in that movie completely different to everything that he's worked towards and grown from. And I think Natasha is also a victim of that faulty writing, which I think shows in Age of Ultron, because after that, she's like back to normal, if that makes sense. I don't know. That Nat and Bruce thing was just awkward and weird, and nobody wanted that, and it didn't go anywhere, and it didn't do anything to help any of the characters. Like, it didn't help Bruce at all become better with himself. Like, he just, he flew off into space and he started working as a gladiator for some space dude. All right, sure, but I don't know. I'm just tired, and I'm sure you're tired of this video, and I'm gonna try to wrap it up here with some hopefully good things. I think I talk about the good things I liked about Black Widow, because I do love her as a character, and I will always love her, and I'm still gonna keep watching Marvel because they have me in a chokehold at this point. But I just wanted to pop in here, and I just wanted to express a little bit more on my thoughts toward some of the things I don't like that they've done to her, because frankly, I think it's uncalled for, because she's pretty rad in my opinion.
I feel like half of this video is utter nonsense, and I feel like I'm gonna make a lot of people mad with my views toward this movie. Like I said, if you liked it, that's great. I'm really glad you did enjoy it. I just get bummed out, and I get annoyed every single time, because a lot of stuff wasn't, I feel like, done properly. I feel like could have been done better, or it was just really lazy. It was written in 11 days. And it shows! I guess I can say some good things I did enjoy with Black Widow. Like I said, I really loved Yelena. I thought she was a very fun character. Florence Pugh did a fantastic job portraying her. I liked the costume tribute at the end, when, you know, that was another thing too. Like, freaking Melina literally explained everything. Like, she had her gold cuffs, which in her typical costume, she has golden cuffs, which I really loved. Her Black Widow bite bracelet things, I liked that. I always thought it was funny how, like, after it's revealed that, like, she's Melina, she has, like, all these braids in the back of her head. I'm like, you're telling me you had all that time to do all those mini braids? Like, Alright, queen, go off, I see you. I thought the sky fight was cool when Yelena did the whole smashy thing in the plane and Dreykov went boom and then she flew off and then Natasha conveniently got a parachute that was just sitting on the sideline and went down to go get Yelena and like she saves her, and then Taskmaster, that scene where like jets off, it's like very short, but like when they're like flying through the sky, that was very Natasha. Like, yeah, it's off the wall, probably would not happen, but it was so cool to watch. I also really liked the head touch moment at the end with Yelena and Natasha. Those moments are always just, it's a very intimate moment, and I always appreciate that because it just shows the bond in a relationship. Like, Natasha and Clint have that moment during Endgame as well. I liked that scene, but I just, in general, I just wish, I don't know, dude. It wasn't all as cracked up to be, and I'm not really surprised. I feel like I've been talking forever, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up. If I have any lasting remarks, I think I've said everything. I probably haven't, let's be real. I just wish that if this was supposed to be her send-off, her goodbye, they had done so much more with that, because honestly, this movie, it doesn't feel like they took the time to like actually give her a proper goodbye. It just felt like they saw the fans love Natasha, and that they saw how well other female superhero movies did well, I guess, and they said, okay, we'll do that for you. You guys like Black Widow, we'll give you her movie, except it's a prequel and she's already dead. I don't know how this video is gonna be perceived. I have no ill intentions against anyone. If anyone likes it, I'm not trying to be like, you're an idiot for liking this movie. Ah, that's dumb. I just feel like a lot of people who don't like it, they don't like it for the wrong reason. They don't like it for like the misogynistic reasons, and I think that's ew. I don't know where I'm going. I really should just shut up and move on. I feel like I've been here for a while now. This video is gonna be so long. I'm so sorry. This was my take on Black Widow, the movie, and her in general. Like I said, I still love her. I am still a fan of her, and I will still watch Marvel movies because I enjoy watching everything Marvel puts out because it's just interesting for me to watch. I've been a fan for a while now. I don't think I'll stop. But that being said, I'm a little bummed out with the movie, and I think that's okay because I'm not supposed to be happy with everything because I apparently have ridiculously high standards. It's not my fault I have good taste. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, thanks. Leave a like. I would greatly appreciate that. Or don't. I don't know. Do whatever the hell you want. So I'm off. I've got places to go, people to meet, worlds to conquer. Until next time, forever and always, Nadia. Okay, bye!